everyone. Welcome to Ask the Nanny. Today is May 11th, 2020. Sorry about that. Uh, and we are here today with Lora Brawley, and she's going to have a discussion with us about know your worth. We're all getting ready to go back out into the workforce. Some of us never stop working, but a lot of us are going back into the workforce, and we are going to need some help. And I would hate for you to take a job just because it is a job. Don't settle.
Exactly.
You're worth more than that. Now, for those of you who don't know Lora, I'm going to let her introduce herself to you right quick while I share this with the groups on Facebook.
Okay. So, hi everybody, Lora Brawley here. I am owner of Nanny Care Hub, which is an umbrella site for A to Z Nanny Contract and Nanny U and nannycarehub.com. I have a lot of things going on. So, I have been in the business for over 30 years. I was a nanny and family assistant for 25, and then I started doing consulting and training, which is primarily what I do now. And I always have something in my back pocket, always a project happening. And I love our community. I love our industry. So and knowing your worth is something near and dear to my heart. So yeah, Nanny Care Hub does a little bit of everything. I do some training, I do chats, I do webinars, I do whatever sort of comes to mind that I feel the need is. So that's a weird introduction, but go to Nanny Care Hub. You'll get a sense of me really quickly.
You will definitely get to know her. So tonight we will be talking about know your worth. Now, if you don't know your worth, then you need to listen in, take notes, all that good stuff. Because I promise you, if you take that job that you really just like, well, it's a job, it'll get me started, you'll hate it.
Yeah.
And if you take that job that's like, oh, that's a whole lot of money, let me get this, but you don't feel right about the parents, you're going to hate that one too. I promise you. Did that it only took one time. One time. And I asked myself, I had 3 months, 90 days. Day one, I was like, oh my God. Day 89 back through day one, I said, why did you do this to yourself? Why did you do this to yourself? Why did you? Because it was a 3-month contract.
Wow.
Trust me, you do not want to do that. But me being me, I'm going to keep my word. I'm going to do what I signed the contract. I'm going to keep my word. Don't do it. I promise you, don't do it. You may have tough skin, or you think you may have tough skin, and you think that COVID has toughened you up. Don't do it.
Well, everything is a learning experience too, right? So you learned a big lesson there.
So, some lessons are bought, some lessons are taught. You don't want to learn that lesson. You don't want to buy it or learn it. You don't want to talk to you, I promise you. That's why I have Lora here. She's the expert on these things, on negotiating and knowing your worth. And she's done workshop after workshop after workshop on getting the job and the right fit for you. That some jobs may have excellent benefits. The pay may be a little lower than what you expect, but they have excellent benefits that helps to make up for what is not being put in your salary. Now that one you might want to go for. If it's like $1 or $2 off and you have excellent benefits, that guaranteed pay, I'm just saying. Okay, Ms. Lora, I'm gonna stop.
Look at the whole compensation package. It's not just about what your rate is. You have to look at the whole compensation package when you're deciding, because you can have some amazing benefits that will make up for $1 or $1.50 less in your rate. So you have to look at the big picture and not be narrowly focused on the rate.
Especially if you're getting health insurance.
Yeah. Well,
Typing.
you should be talking about health. And I literally was just talking to a client this afternoon and talked her into providing health insurance, because right now the laws have changed for 2020. And almost every situation, you can get a health insurance reimbursement account by working the numbers in a legal way. It won't cost your employer anything. It won't cost her any money, but you still will get this great benefit, and you'll come out with the same amount too, because it's non-taxable income. So if you're not taking advantage of the health insurance reimbursement account right now, you should be calling one of the tax companies and saying, help me figure the numbers, because it's like leaving money on the table if you're not doing that. And nobody wants to leave money on the table, and everybody needs good health insurance right now. Well, you need good health insurance all the time, but right now particularly.
Yes. Okay, so we have a question from Christina. Christina says, hey guys, okay, so I'm in Canada and I just signed on with a new family. I'm having hesitations as I reviewed the contract again last night. We haven't officially signed anything yet. So the quick rundown is family of four, mom and dad, in a typical scenario are in their offices downtown, and I have two little, G9 and B boy 3-year-old. Duties are pretty standard, actually less duties than I have had before. Basically meals, naps, general. Hold on, I'm trying to see the rest of her question. My switch over. She says, hold on. She has basically meals, naps, all of the cleanup duties. Oh, wow, I lost my page. Okay, there it is. Let me see if I can find the rest of this. All cleanup duties. Wow, this is a long one. Tidying up after kiddos is all as other cleanup is done by cleaning staff they have. My issue is the pay versus the hours being worked. So I'd like some help and opinions on this before I sign. And also, if you think it's unfair, please help me with suggestions on how to talk to family to readjust the contract before I sign it tomorrow. They are offering $4,200 a month before all mandatory taxes included. 2 weeks paid vacation, 5 sick days, and paid stat. I don't know what that is. Standard holidays are off. This all sounded fantastic to me until I realized they have my schedule 7:30 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Friday, which works out to be 52 hours a week.
Okay, so what does that work out to be? Yeah, Canada, I'm going to tell you, I'm not up on what the competitive rate in Canada is. So this is going to be a hard one. And also there are other standard legally required benefits in Canada, I think, that are not required in the United States. So you need to make sure that you're getting those.
Right. She wants to know if she should ask for the overtime for the extra 10 hours or just ask for reduced hours.
Well, my assumption is if they're asking you to work 52 hours a week, it's because they need you for 52 hours a week. That's not an unusual schedule, at least in the U.S. Again, the U.S. is very different than other countries. So my assumption is that they need you for those 52 hours. So I would definitely ask for overtime. I'm assuming that's required in Canada too, just like it is here. So you should be getting that for those extra, whether it be 10 or 12 hours a week. But the rest of the job sounds pretty right within what a family should ask of a nanny. It doesn't sound like they're asking you to do any tasks that are outside of a normal nanny's responsibilities.
Mm-hmm. That's what it sounded like to me, but I would definitely ask for the overtime, especially if the law in Canada says that anything over 40 hours is overtime.
Right.
If that's the law, check your laws. That's the first place.
Yeah, I'll admit, I don't know Canada's laws, so that's not
I don't either. But I would check your laws first to make sure that check your labor department to see what the legal labor for
Yeah,
what is
you can
domestic
just Google it.
workers.
You can just Google
Yeah.
overtime law or overtime threshold in Canada, and it'll pop up and tell you what it is, because it sounds like you have to sign that contract tomorrow.
Yes.
But
ask Dr. Google.
yes, exactly.
He knows everything. He has a little bit of something about everything.
I know. I can't tell you how much I use Google all the time.
Oh yeah, I'm a Google fiend. But
Me too.
also be careful with Google. Double check Google, because
Oh, yeah.
some things on Google are opinion.
It's only a starting place. It should send you to the real reference. You never want to take it as the reference. It's just a breadcrumb to take you to the real authority. That's how I view it.
Yes. Okay, so we had another comment. Oh, she says there's standard work week, but that is standard week. We have a standard work week that is 40 hours a week plus overtime, because I have worked 60 to 72 hours a week.
Yeah.
So, but then I did have overtime hours for that too.
Correct.
So that's the United States. Check Canada. Just saying. Please, please, please check it out. Someone else, Jennifer, made a comment and said ask for overtime of time and a half after 40 hours. Now, I don't know if Jennifer is in Canada or in the United States. So it out for yourself and know for yourself. We have a lot of opinions that we can give you, but we may not be right.
And you should always, regardless of where you are, even in the United States, there's different state laws. You should always know the laws that pertain to you. You should never go into a job or negotiate unless you know your country's laws and your state laws, because there's a lot of state laws in the United States that override the FLSA. So you should know everything before you go in, because otherwise you're negotiating blind.
Right. I know in California, any day over 8 hours is considered overtime.
Yeah.
And I know there's a different law. It's either in Maryland or New York. One of those states has different laws too about overtime. So check out.
A ton of states have different laws, so you really do have to know your individual state
know
laws.
Your state. Ask for your state. Look it up for your state. Now, when you say know your worth.
Sorry, my nose is very itchy today. Sorry.
When we say know your worth, we mean if you have been in childcare, if you've been a nanny for 23 years, you're not going to make the same salary as a nanny who has been in 10 to 20 years. So when you go to that job, we don't want you to be cheated, but we also don't want you to get embarrassed by asking for too much amount. I have seen it happen, and I have gotten the complaints. They told me I was too inexperienced because I asked for this much money. I was like, you did what? You do realize that's a salary of a seasoned nanny. You've been a nanny for 3 years, and you're still working your way up. So when you're working your way up the ladder, you have to pay your dues. Trust me, we all go through that lowball salary. Just because a seasoned nanny has befriended you and said, girl, I made this much, and you go and try to make the same thing, it's not going to work.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of things that go into determining what you're going to ask for. As a recruiter, I look at 4 different things. So I look at your experience level, what you're just talking about. I also look at your educational level, and I look at your skill set, because there's a whole separate category of what skills you have. And then the final thing that I look at, and I know agencies and parents look at too, is what I call the secret sauce, which is really the things that make you stand out. And most of the time it's attitude, to be quite honest. It really is your attitude around who you are as a professional, how you are with your employers, how you're going to present yourself, and how you are going to be on the job. So those are the 4 things that I look at when I'm looking at any nanny and saying, this is what you can make. So there are nannies that have a lesser amount of experience that can make as much as a nanny who has, say, double the experience or even triple the experience, because they bring other things to the table. They may have a degree, or they may have an incredible skill set that that family finds incredibly valuable. So I just talked to a family last week who was really into the RIE approach. They're looking for a RIE caregiver. Now, which is RIE, Resources for Infant Caregivers. No, it's not caregivers. What is it? Anyway, it'll come to me, or somebody will tell me somebody will tell Angela. But they were looking for a very particular skill set. So that's what was most important for them. They were looking for somebody who was trained in RIE, and they were looking for somebody who had some experience, but mostly had that attitude. So you have to, again, look at the whole picture of what you bring to the table. It's not just about your years of experience. I know lots of nannies who have 20 years of experience who can't get past that mid-level pay range. We all hear about this. Well, I have 20 years of experience, so I should be at the high end. Nope, you don't have the secret sauce. The secret sauce is what's going to get you there. So when and you can tell on the boards, you can tell the nannies that have that extra ingredient, and they're the ones in those high-end positions that everybody covets, or most people covet. So for me, I look at all four things. And when I talk to agencies, I say, so how are you doing with nannies? Do you have a lot of them? And they all go, oh my gosh, we have so many nannies. We have more than we can keep track of. And then there's a pause, and they always go, but we need really good nannies. We have very few exceptional nannies. Like, okay, because what they're looking for too is that secret sauce. That's what parents are looking for, and that's what parents are paying for. So those are the four things: your experience, your education, your skill set, and that special intangible. And I call it that because it's really intangible. It's like, you know it when you see it, but it's really hard to describe. When you talk to a nanny who has it, you go, oh my gosh, you're golden. You know what I mean? And then when you talk to a nanny who has a lot of experience but doesn't have it, you're like, you're going to really struggle. So you know it when you see it. But those are the four things that you should be thinking about when you're setting your rate and your benefit package. But going back to what your original question was, when I talk about knowing your worth, it isn't just about your rate. It isn't just about your benefit package. It is about how you are treated on the job, what kind of work environment you have. So you can have a great rate. You could be working for a really wealthy family who gives you tons and tons of money. But if you're treated poorly, that's not knowing your worth. You're not being treated and valued the way that you should be. So knowing your worth is not just about your paycheck. It's about the benefits they offer you. So when you call in and you say, I'm sick, they don't go, well, you're coming in still, right? They go, we're sorry. Of course, take the day off. Is there anything we can do for you? You know what I mean? So it is how you are treated on the job. That is a big part of knowing your worth. You will accept, or you will stop accepting lesser, treatment when you know your worth, when you really feel it in your bones. You will not accept being treated and valued less than you really deserve to be. So that's how I define it.
Now, RIE stands for Resources for Infant Educators.
Oh, there we go. See, I knew somebody would tell me.
Yes. Thank you, Stacey. And the crowd goes wild.
Yes. See?
But it's like you said, that person who just has it, it just oozes out of their just. When I go to the grocery store and I see just teenagers and they're playing with the babies, or they're entertaining the babies, and I just kind of notice, okay, so what are they doing, and what methods are they using? Is it funny to the child? Is it engaging? And when I've seen several teenagers, I'm like, oh, great nanny. Oh my gosh. She just, oh my gosh. But that's probably not what they want to be. But it's like, okay, it's not your place to tell her that. But yes, that is the quality. You just see it oozing out of them, that they're just so natural. It's a natural thing.
Right.
And it's not just with the kids, but you're able to talk to the parents and communicate with the parents. Yep. You're able to calm their fears and tell them the truth without scaring them half to death.
Right. It's a bundle of soft skills. I just did that pandemic workshop on Saturday. And one of the things that you can really emphasize when you're job looking now is your soft skills. And part of that is emotional intelligence. And that really means how you are able to manage your own emotions, but how you're able to navigate relationships successfully, how you can calm a parent's fears, how you can talk to people effectively, how you can become attuned with the people that you're working with and really understand where they're coming from, how you can take on somebody else's perspective and not just be stuck in your own. There are so many soft skills that nannies, that really successful nannies have, and they hone those over the years. So it's not just about, oh, I know everything about taking care of a baby, or I know everything about discipline. That's not going to get you very far. Being a nanny requires a whole set of skills that come together and work together and complement each other. So it's not just one thing. If you're only focused on your childcare information, that's not going to, again, not going to get you very far. That's the core of what a nanny does. But a successful nanny really knows, really is able to provide those complementary skills. And that really does come back down to knowing your worth, because when you feel you can go into a job and do everything in that job that you need to, not just childcare, but work with the parents, work with the environment, do everything that you need to, that's when you really feel that sense of pride and accomplishment and success. And that builds your sense of worth. People, I often get the question, well, how do you get there? Well, you get there by doing things that provide a touchstone for you and recognizing that you're really good at what you do and being able to say that to yourself and to say that out loud. I've been saying that out loud for a long time. And in the very beginning, people would go, oh, you said that out loud. I'm like, yes, I am an excellent nanny. And I said that out loud.
Speak it into existence. Words have power.
Exactly. So if you're really good at something, you don't need to, what is that? I love that quote by Marianne Williamson. You don't need to keep your light under a bushel or under a basket or whatever it is. Somebody will look that quote up for me. But you don't need to keep your light from shining. Be proud of what you're really, really good at. And that will come through.
Yes, it will. Because it's like Laura said, you got to deal with the parents. You got to deal with the cat. You got to deal with the dog. You got to deal with grandparents. You got to know how to, oh, she is getting on my last nerve. You got to learn how to smile through it and go, yes, sure, I'll help you with that. Even though you want to go, that's not what we usually do. You're doing it wrong. You're messing up my schedule. Well, grandma's only in town for a little while.
Right.
So it's not going to kill you. It's not going to kill the child to get off schedule for a minute. That's what you're there for, to get them right back on. You remember what the difference between Friday and Monday? You know the difference. When you leave home, when you leave the nanny job on Friday, that child's like, oh, yes, I finally got him on schedule today. And then you come back Monday, like, oh, Lord, I got to start all over again. Yes, all of that. Because you don't know what has gone on over the weekend with that child. And you have honed in on that still small voice. And when I say still, I mean STEEL. You have that still small voice. And when you talk to that nanny child and you say, I need you to go over there and pick up your toys, and then we'll go outside. We're not going anywhere until we clean up. They know, oh, I can't crawl out on the floor and pick the fit, and we're going to go outside because I am over here crying my heart out. Do you see me over here? And they crying, and do you see me over here? It doesn't work with you. And they know the sooner I get my toys cleaned up and don't pitch a fit, I'm going outside. Now, that may not have happened with whoever came to visit over the weekend and they got their way. But you know what happens when you come back in on Monday morning. You got to reset the pace. You got to reset the tone. You got to reset. Everything is on reset on Monday morning. So that secret sauce, that's a part of that secret sauce. Getting that child back in condition to what you want them to do. Knowing that I got this. That's what you got. I got this. And when you got this, the parents know that you got this. So they're like, oh, okay, we'll see you later. And they don't worry.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to remember you're working for the family. Your job is mainly childcare, but it's not just childcare. You're working for the family as a whole unit. And that means dealing with family dynamics, parents, grandparents, everything. Your job is not just for the child. If that's what you want, then you probably should be in a daycare or a preschool or something like that. When you're working in a private home, you are working for the family. And it's a lot more complex, a lot more complicated, but I find personally it's a lot more rewarding too. So
Yes. Uh, Let me not get her name wrong. Lania says, I call my 2-year-old ma'am when she's got to listen and she gets her act together real quick. Yes, there are certain words that you know how to use that will get attention and turn that behavior around. That's the sauce. That's part of the sauce.
Yeah.
That's part of it. When you have that it factor, that's what we're talking about.
Yeah.
And parents will hire you because they see that it factor in you.
Right.
And when you go to the interview and they ask you questions, please don't sit there and go, yes, no, well, okay. Because you seem like you're lifeless, that you don't want to be there, that you just like, I'm just here for the interview. Y'all go on and hire me and I'll show you what I got later on. No, that's
Doesn't really work
not
that way.
it. You
But
have got to put it out there.
yeah, if I can give everybody one tip, it is to become an exceptional interviewer. I am telling you, I work with nannies that are just starting out, and I work with nannies who have been around for 30 years and are perceived by everybody in the industry as the top nannies in the country. And I can tell you a lot of those nannies cannot interview. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I mean, it is not a skill that they have developed. And people are losing out on good jobs and good money and good packages because of that. And people think it comes naturally. Oh, I'm just going to go talk. Interviewing is a skill. And it's, I have gotten a lot of flack for this, but I can take somebody who has 5 years of experience or even less than that, and I can jump them over somebody who has 15 years of experience because you work with what you have. So if you become a good interviewer, regardless of what your background is, you will leapfrog over 90% of the people in our industry. And that may not always be fair, but my thing is I never work with anybody that I don't believe in. So all these people are good caregivers. If you're a good caregiver and you just need good skills, interviewing will make the difference. And don't assume that you know how to do it, because I will often say, well, how would you answer that? And they go, oh, I know how to do that. And then I go, okay, let's do a role play. You have to say it out loud. And because it's in their head, they know the answer to the question. They know what they mean and they know what they want to say. But knowing it in your head and being able to say it in a way that is passionate and committed and concise and comprehensive is a whole different ballgame. So even if you know the answers in your head, even if you really are an exceptional caregiver, unless you learn the skill on how to express that in a way that lands on parents the way you need for it to, you're not being effective. So I find most people skip over the interviewing skills. They're like, I know that. I'm already good at that. I've been through hundreds of interviews. But that is the one thing, if you want to increase your ability to land good jobs, and you're going to need that ability in this pandemic because we have lots of people new coming into this industry. And those people aren't just like, oh, I can't get another job. These are preschool teachers and daycare workers and people that have lots of experience in childcare that you're going to be now competing with. If you want to be able to effectively get those jobs, you're going to have to learn how to be a better interviewer. So regardless of where you are in the interviewing skills, you need to get better. I can just tell you that we all can get better.
Yes.
There's no such thing as I have arrived. It is always better and better and better. So
constantly learning.
Yeah.
And constantly improving. And speaking of constantly learning and improving, one thing, or should I say two things that have gotten me most of my jobs, when I go and then we sit down and I say hello and I hand them my portfolio. It's like, I brought this for you to look at. And they start turning pages. It's a conversation starter. When I tell you a picture is worth 1,000 words, when you show parents what you do, how you do it, with, it is, oh, so I see you do this. Oh, yes, I love to do that. And last time we did that, we did this, we did that. And you can even change it up and use this material or use that material. Show them that you know what you're talking about. Show them that you're versatile. Show them that it's not just this one section. Guess what? We took this one thing and we turned it into 20 other different things.
Right.
So when you show them, and they're like, oh, so my child will enjoy that. They will, oh my gosh, you really on top of it. Yes, I am. That one activity.
Yep.
And that's why I search the nanny groups when they say Mother's Day, show me your Mother's Day crafts, show me your Father's Day crafts. I'm like, okay, wait a minute. If I change this and I change that, I can make that into something else. Okay, we'll change that out. Get creative. That's what I'm telling you. Be creative.
Yep.
And when you be creative and you show them that this is okay, we made rice confetti and that was it. Okay, so we made rice confetti and we scooped the rice up and we made hills and we took the trucks over the hills and fine motor skills. And then we used scoopers and we used the little tongs, fine motor skills.
Yep.
If that's what that child needs, fine motor skills, create ways, come up with ways that child can do fine motor skills. If that parent tells you they need fine motor skills and the opportunity comes about when you get to talk about that, show them the things that they mentioned. Listening, effective listening is a whole big part of interview.
Yep, you need to be able to listen and assess their needs. That's what you're doing through this whole interview. You're assessing what that parent needs and you're putting that into your head, putting that into your back pocket. And then when you're talking about what you do, you're connecting what you do to what they need. It is a direct line, and that's where they hire from. People don't hire intellectually. They don't look at your resume and go, oh, they may look at your resume and be really impressed.
Mm-hmm.
Because a lot of people have very impressive resumes, but that's not where they hire from. They hire because they are emotionally connected to you. And that's where you have to reach them. So you should be listening, just like you said, and assessing their needs throughout, and then making those direct connections. I talk about feature versus benefit when I do job search skills. So your feature is what you have. Like, I have a really, I'm very creative and I can, I do a lot of fine motor skill activities. That's your feature. That's great. But when you say, oh, I noticed that you were talking about Sam really, really wanted to work on this. Some of the things that I can think of that he would love to do around trucks and fine motor skills are this, this, and this. Then you've pulled that parent in because you've connected it. You've connected what you offer to their need. And that's what you have to do because that's what sells. You don't.
And you made it personal.
Exactly. So you really have to go in. And again, all of these are skills that can be learned. This isn't, she knows something or they know something that I don't know. It literally is what we teach in job search skills. It teaches you how to do that. So don't feel wherever you are, if you're not good at this, that you can't become exceptional. Because if you're willing to put in the time and effort into learning it, you can learn it. You could literally take a class and learn it. So you don't even have to be like, oh, I have to put my 10 years in to figure it out. No, you don't have to do that. Your learning curve can be really, really, okay, I'm going to learn all this, I'm going to practice it, and I'm going to be a rock star. So
yes.
It's a
get
skill.
with a mentor. Get you a mentor. If you don't have a mentor, get in a mentoring group. I'm been thinking about it and rebranding as a nanny, and I'm getting ready to start a mentoring group because I know that sauce, that all this information that we're telling you, that sauce is in there and it's in you. I see it in you. And you just got to know when to bring it out. You got to know what to say and don't talk too much. Because sometimes talking too much can get you just start when you start rambling, they're like, oh, we're gonna have to do with this. She gonna ramble like this all the time.
Exactly.
We're gonna have to go, okay, it's time the kids to eat dinner. We'll see you tomorrow. Yeah.
Yeah, and all that's part of assessing the parents. If you're interviewing with somebody who isn't really chatty Cathy, then you don't need to be that. You know what I mean? You have to, again, manage yourself in that interview.
Yes.
It's
You got
all
to
about
know.
managing.
It's a sense of discernment, of
Yep.
knowing, of reading people, body language, and reading people. It's all in there.
Yep.
It's all in there. So you got to trust me. It's in you. You just got to bring it out, and got to be sensitive to them, and not just think about, oh, I need to answer this question, and you're not listening.
Right.
You're focusing more on what's going on in your head instead of focusing on what they're saying. Because if you focus on what they're saying, you'll say the right things. You'll answer the right questions right. So just relax, calm down, and that's what you need to practice. And you're not going to get it overnight. You have to
Right.
practice. We have to have mock interviews. And somebody said, oh, well, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said it this way, or that way. And you get an idea like, oh, yeah, I could have said that. I could have said this. I would have said this. I thought about that, but I didn't say it. Well, it's sometimes you need to say it. Sometimes you don't. You got to practice.
If you don't practice, that's the whole way that you build skills. People hate role plays, but I'm telling you, that's the only way that you build your skills. You can hear something a million different times, but if you don't practice it, it's not going to connect.
Okay, so Jody says, so you offer classes on interviewing, Lora?
Yes, I do. I have a ton of job search classes. I'm actually getting ready to start a new series. The problem is job search skills you have to scaffold them. You know what I mean? Like, it's hard to do individual things because everything plays in together. But I'm getting ready to do a new series of classes. And I do. So it's all around interviewing skills and assessing clients and how to get your message out there in a way that parents can hear. You may have the way to say it, but if it's not landing on people, you're just talking into the air. So yeah, I do have classes and I'm getting ready to schedule some more.
Okay. Jody says, Lora Brawley has always said during the interview, paint them a picture of some of your typical days.
Jody Blepp.
So somebody knows you perfect, Jody.
Exactly. Jody knows me from a long time ago. It's true. You know what? Like, when you go, let's look at this outside the nanny industry. So you have a middle-aged man and he goes into a car dealership and he's looking at this hot rod, Ferrari or Corvette or whatever. The salesman doesn't go over and say, oh, well, you know what it has? It has this engine that has whatever. I don't even know anything about engines. What he goes over there and says is, you can imagine yourself in that car, right? Imagine sunny day, taking the top down, you driving around town, everybody looking at you thinking, wow, what do you have? How successful have you been? And of course, that young woman's going to be looking at you thinking, that's somebody that I want to meet, right? He doesn't sell them on the car. He sells them on the experience the car is going to give him. And that's why that guy puts down that credit card and says, yes, I'm taking this car. He doesn't need a hot rod car. His old car is just fine for getting him around town. What he wants and what he needs is the experience. And that's what parents want. So when you go in, again, if you have a degree and you go, oh, I have a 4-year degree in early childhood ed, they're going to probably be impressed and they're going to go, oh, that's great. But if you go in and go, you know what, I have been so passionate about childcare my entire life, and my degree helps me come into your environment and bring it alive for your child. I want to get to know what they love. I want to get to know what they're interested in. And I'm going to create an environment that's going to support them and engage them and make them more curious. And we're going to use, outdoor forest experiences and indoor creative things. And you talk about all these things that you're going to do because you have that degree, because you know how to do that because of your degree. That's what the parents want. They want the experience for their child. Your degree is neither here nor there for them. They're not going to hire you because they have your degree. Just like somebody who doesn't have a degree can come in and sell those parents on the experience. So that's what it is. And when you talk to people, you describe that. It's like a visualization. If anybody's done visualizations where you talk about the details and you close your eyes and you can almost feel like you're there, that's what you're doing for those parents. And all of a sudden they're like, yeah, that's what I want. And nobody else is going to compare to that. They're going to be like, no, 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 no. I want her. She told me exactly what I wanted. And that's the experience I want for my child, because they have an idea in their head about what they want their child's childhood to be like, what they want their home to be like. You can plug into that and you can say, I'm going to give you this experience. You got the job. And when I say all the time, negotiation happens in the interview, that's what I'm talking about. Because when you get to the end of that, they've already hired you in their head. They already see you creating these amazing activities and, doing this emotional coaching for their kids. They already are there, or emotionally. So when you go to talk about money, they're going to be like, okay, yeah. You don't have to negotiate at the end if you do a good job of interviewing. Now, if you do a bad job of interviewing, boy, you're going to really struggle with the negotiation piece. But if you do a good job of interviewing, assuming the family can afford you, the negotiation piece is literally going to be confirming what you want. And that's what I say when I talk to people about negotiating. If you've missed the opportunity in the interview, you've missed the negotiation piece. So Jody's absolutely right.
Just to piggyback off of what you said, when I go to interviews, and as a nanny, the first 3 or 4 families that I work with, they were brand new parents. Mm-hmm. So me selling my education, they were all over it. When I got into the nanny groups like 3 or 4 years ago, and I realized that all these nannies had all this experience, and I'm like, what was that? Hiding under a rock somewhere? I was like, you got to up your game, girl. You can't rely on this. Oh, I have an early childhood education degree. Period.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
Exactly. What you gonna offer me? Your degree. Some people are good at taking tests. Some people have all kinds of degrees, but they cannot deliver a message. They cannot bring it down to a level of understanding. You're always in book sense. We need you in child sense. We need you right here with our babies and talking baby talk. I thank God for my creative imagination, because I went to an interview and I was selling my books. And the woman said, well, tell me about a typical day. Okay, typical day. So I started down this road of, we go to the park, and we're at the park, we go down the slide, and we can pretend that it's a hill, and we're climbing up the hill, and we're going down, and we're fighting to get, and then we go to the sandbox, and we're fighting to get through the snowstorm, and then by the time I got done, she said, oh my gosh, can you babysit me? Right. I was like, thank you, Lord, for the imagination.
Yeah.
Because I was stuck, and I thought, we go to the park, we come home with an art project. But by the time I got through explaining, and it's inflections in your voice, it's your passion about what you're doing. It's all about you being that child and letting them see the child in you come out, because they know if you are like this, you can relate to my child. Yeah. So that was the day that ECE went out the door and Imagination Station came to live. Yeah.
So, it is the experience that you can engage the family with. I have gone on lots of job interviews and have always been offered the job from families that have said, we require a degree. I do not have a degree in early childhood education. I don't have a degree, period. I went 3 years and then left, which was horrible. But and literally, I have never not been offered a job, because I've never not been offered a job by one of those families. Because once you interview, they're like, we don't really care about the degree. We care about what you're bringing into it. And some for a lot of people, for the degree, that means to them, this is somebody who's mature. This is somebody who follows through. This is somebody who is going to be, I can depend on them. So you have to understand why the degree, or whatever the requirement is, why that's important to the family, because then you can tell them how you fulfill that need outside of that particular thing. So a lot of families require a degree. They don't even care if it's an early childhood ed because the degree means something to them. And so if you can say, I have that outside of the degree, then you are, again, back on the track for that job. So it really is about creating a visual and an image and an experience for families.
Yes.
And a lot of people will say to me, well, I'm not very good at bragging on myself. You don't have to. I have never gone into an interview and said, you need to hire me because I'm a great nanny or I'm the best nanny. If you are passionate, if you are committed, if you are excited about the work you do, I guarantee you it will come out in the interview because it comes out in your body language and the way you talk about things. That's why I'm a horrible salesperson. But if you are trying to get me to sell something I believe in, I'm a great nonprofit fundraiser. I couldn't sell like an actual, like a, vacuum machine, but man, you put me on a fundraiser, something I believe, and I can sell, iced Eskimos because it comes out. If you are passionate and committed to something, it comes out. And so if you are excited about just the work that you do, and you should be, if you're in a nanny, then that's going to come out. You don't have to go in and say, oh, I'm head and shoulders above everybody else. You don't have to say anything about that. Just let your passion and your commitment shine. And that is enough. That's all you need. But if you don't do that, boy, that's really going to come, if you try, a lot of nannies try and be quote unquote professional. And so they are, they're more reserved. They try and use a lot of ECE language. They do these kind of things. All that comes off as is just cold to families. They're like, okay. So you really have to go in and be animated and excited. But hopefully if you are applying for a nanny job, you are truly excited about the idea of working with this family and working with this child. So even if you have to spend 5 minutes in your car, even if you've been interviewing and you're just sick to death of interviewing, God knows that's how I feel every time I had to look for a job. I hate interviewing. But I would spend 10 minutes in my car before every interview and I would do a visualization. And I would say, okay, remember why you love this job. Remember why you work with kids. Remember why this is so important to you. And I would get myself excited. And when I walked in that house, I was excited. I was ready to go. Now, that didn't mean I was so sick to death of interviewing because I always was. I hate interviewing. I hate job search. But I would get myself excited because that's what matters in that interview. That's what needs to come out.
Be willing to interview for more than I'm just saying, be willing to interview for more than just one position because what may look like gold may be fool's gold.
I love that.
I'm just saying. When I moved here to Dallas, I was getting ready to move to Dallas. I was moving in March. I started looking in November because I knew I'm making that transition. I came down for 2 weeks. The weeks between got here like December the 19th and I left like January the 2nd. Between that time, I had 22 interviews. Now, I knew that I was not going to be able to work for 22 different families. But what it did teach me was I knew the range of pay in what section of town. I knew it helped me to learn geographically what area I wanted to live in, what area I wanted to work in, where I was most comfortable, where all the city parks were, where the fire station, museums, things that was of interest to me, so that when I went for this interview, I could say, well, I noticed there's a park up the street or the museum over here, it's not far away. It got me into people's homes to realize, no, there's no way in the world I'm going to work for you.
Right.
Or, oh my gosh, oh no. And if you go into an interview and whatever hits you in the face when you walk through the door and it gives you that eerie feeling, run, Forrest, run. I'm just saying,
turn around.
Because it is not worth being uncomfortable and feeling like something is going to happen to you and you're looking around like, okay, and you flinching. It will show in your actions.
Yeah.
It will be all over you. And then you don't want the job and you still won't get the job because but it's
that's
just
when you do a 15-minute interview and get out. I hate interviewing so much that I do most of my interviewing through the initial phone conversation. For me to meet with a family, I have to be about 95% sure that I would work for them, because and that's the reason I do job search skills, because I really do hate it so much. And I feel like it's so difficult and it's so emotionally draining for me. I'm trying to help other people not have to go through that. But man, I could not do, if I had to do 20 interviews for a job, I would just die, Angela. I just couldn't do it.
But that was like I said, there was a method to my
right.
madness.
But that's a great point, because everybody does it differently. You know what I mean? Like, everybody has a way of doing it. There are core things you need to do, I believe, but you have to do what works for you. You have to bring your own personal self to how you job search.
Yes, exactly. Because what I do in interviews may not be what you do.
Exactly.
I know one of the jobs that I interviewed for, she was worried about her child because they had just moved to town, and the nanny, the child and the nanny was very close, and they were old enough to understand missing the nanny, and it was a very emotional time. And so I asked her, what does your child like to do? Does he like stickers? She said he loves dinosaurs. Okay, so I went to Walmart, bought a sticker book with, it was like the dinosaur faces, and then it has stickers with different eyes and ears and nose and snouts and all this other stuff. So when I got to the house, child didn't want to come downstairs, did not want to meet me. I said, well, do you like dinosaurs? And he said, yeah. Do you like stickers? And he's like, yeah, as he's slowly descending down the stairs. And his mom is looking at me. And I know this is a test because she's already told me he's not going to like you. So I said, well, I brought an activity that has dinosaurs and it has stickers. Would you like to see it? And he's like, no, as he's still coming down the stairs. And I said, okay, well, then I'll just be here talking to your mom and just doing this activity by myself. Maybe I'll share it with mom and dad. No, they're too big for that. I said, really? I said, how do you know they're too big? You haven't seen the activity. Well, I can just tell. I said, okay, well, I'll just do it myself. No, you're too big for stickers too. I said, okay. I said, well, who's old enough and who's small enough for stickers? Well, me. I said, oh, really? I thought you didn't want to see my activity. Well, I'm curious. Now, this child is like super smart. And I said, well, you have to come and sit right here for you to see it. No, I want to sit on the floor. I said, okay. So I flipped the thing open, and he said, the dinosaur doesn't have a face. I said, really? Are you serious? This doesn't have a face. And he's like, what happened to his face? I said, well, I think we have to create his face. I said, look what I got. And I flipped the pages back. I said, there's some eyes here. There's a nose here. Oh, I think these are toenails. Do you have toenails? Let me see your toes. And so I just, kind of just talked him through it. And he ended up doing 5 of those sheets while I talked to mom and dad, and I had no problem. And he stopped us every once in a while to show us. I said, oh my gosh, look at his eyes. How big are your eyes? And mom and dad were sitting there just laughing, and he was laughing, but he got me the job.
Exactly.
So if you know something like that is going on, take something with you that would interest that child. Now ask them what's going to interest that child, and use your creative juices, use your imagination, pull from Disney, pull from Moana, pull from Winnie the Pooh, wherever you got to pull from to interest that child. Because if you capture his attention, and I left the book there because, it was only $4. It's an investment in your future. So mom and dad said, well, she's got to take the book with her. I said, well, I tell you what, I'll leave it here with you. If you promise me I can come back and play with
for safekeeping, right? Yeah.
And I said, but you have to leave some in there so I can have some, but you're too big. I said, well, leave some so I can watch you put them on. Okay. I said, okay. So that captured his attention. And once I had his attention, I got mom and dad's attention. Interview was like, wow. And they were smiling the whole time.
Right.
When I got there, they were like, he's gonna come down. He's gonna just, oh my gosh. And they were like, come on down, come on down. No, no. So I let them finish. And that's when I started in on my spiel.
Yep.
You got to have it, that sauce, that sauce, that whatever it is to break through to those kids. Now, I'm not going to say it's going to work that way on every occasion, but at least give it a try.
Yeah, I always go in an interview with a nanny bag. You know what I mean? I always have a nanny bag. And most of the time I've gotten what the kids are interested in just by talking to the parents, but I will always have things that are not going to ruin anything, like the markers that you can color on anything and they don't show, they only show up on paper, or puzzles or stickers or whatever. And I always have that nanny bag, because if I need it, then it's there. You know what I mean? It's there for me to have that icebreaker, because kids love even the cheap junky stuff. They love it if it's new. You know what I mean? So yeah, I always have a nanny bag with me when I go into an interview with just some random things.
Yes.
Just in case.
Always. Take your Mary Poppins bag.
Yep.
Always.
Exactly.
And I was able to sit there and talk with the parents, and they were happy, and we were smiling, and we negotiated the contract all while we were there, and he was doing his little stickers and dinosaurs, and it was a pleasant conversation, as opposed to them yelling up and down the stairs.
Right. Because otherwise they're just distracted, trying to get him to engage.
Yeah. Right. And come on down so you can meet her.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
To play with. And he's like, I'm smarter than that. You're not taking me downstairs. Have you lost him? I don't want to like her.
Exactly.
I know what this is about. So, you have to be creative. You have to know your audience and have a phone conversation, because you don't want to waste your time. That's part of knowing your worth too. If you have that phone conversation first, then you'll know, I don't know where in the world I'm going over there. I'm not wasting my gas, my time. That's 25 miles across town.
Right. Well, in this day and age, forget the face-to-face is going to literally be the very, 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 very last thing. People are going to start having those long interviews over the, FaceTime or Skype or whatever, because people don't want to invite people into their house. And that's how it's going to be. This is not a short-term thing. We're going to be looking at a real change in the way we interview, at least I would say for the next 24 to 36 months. So the next 2 to 3 years, if you're going to be looking, you need to not only update your interview skills, but change the way that you interview. Because people aren't just going to be saying, oh, sure, just come on over for an hour. That's not going to happen. Nobody's going to feel safe doing that. So, and, it's not going to be, oh, let's meet at Starbucks, because, Starbucks is going to be able to have 50% of the people. People are just going to be much more, they're going to want to engage with you in a way outside of meeting you in person. If you meet them in person, it's going to pretty much be, you've gotten the job at this point. So interviewing has changed tremendously because of all of this.
Right. Exactly. Well, we are out of time.
Are we out of time? We can just chat forever, Angela.
We can chat forever, but I want to be respectful of your time.
Well, I love talking to you, so it's always good.
It is always good. And if you have asked questions in the comments, I promise you, we will I will definitely go back and answer your questions in the comments. Whatever you do, please go to the Nanny Care Hub and like Lora's page, sign up for her classes, and because she's always teaching on something. And I have decided to put on my teaching hat, and I'm going to start with something that I'm passionate about, something that I know about, something that has gotten me between 95 to 99% of my job. I'm going to start, I'm doing a workshop on June the 6th and 7th about portfolios and the mini portfolios. A lot of you know about the portfolio, but you don't know about the mini portfolio. That will not only get you the job, but it serves as your calling card for future jobs.
Cool.
But you have to take the workshop in order to find out what it is.
To learn. It's a little teaser there for her.
Yes.
So one final thought, because we started off talking about your worth. And I do a lot of this because I do communications training. And so your worth comes up a lot when we talk about communication. And the one thing I want to say is, regardless of where you are now, if you feel really good about yourself and feel like you know your worth completely, or if you're really struggling, if you're really having a hard time defining your worth, or even putting that out there, using your voice to say it, that is also something that is a skill that can change. You have to change your mindset with it, but wherever you are, you can move forward. So many people feel discouraged, like, well, I just don't feel that. I just don't have that. And that's part of an emotional personal development, but it's something that you can change. So even if right now you are not feeling worthy, if you don't even value yourself, if you don't understand how to put that worth out into the world in a way that people can see it and accept it and love it, you can change that. I don't want anybody to feel like they are stuck where they are, because that is not true. I can tell you, I grew up in a household that was not a household that valued my worth or anybody's worth. And when I was a young adult, I had no self-esteem or none of that, none of those words that we think of. And I really had to decide as an adult who I wanted to be. And I started to change that. And the reason I say you can change is because if I could change from where I was, anybody can change.
Me too.
Seriously.
I was 40 years old.
Yeah. I just want everybody to know that you can change. And not only is it about what you put out in the world, but the biggest change is the way you feel about yourself. And that is worth, even if nobody else is ever, even if you're never putting that out in the world, it automatically comes that way. But changing the way you feel about yourself is incredible. It is transformative in the way that you live. So I don't want anybody to feel like they're stuck, or they can't change how they feel about themselves, or their worth is just low and that's where they are. I want everybody to know that change is possible, and it is worth it. It is worth the work. So that's my final thought on your self-worth.
Yes, you are worth it. You are worth taking care of yourself. And my final word is self-care is not selfish.
Right.
There will be times when you go and interview, when you are at the job, that they'll ask you something that's outside of your comfort zone. They'll ask you, can you stay late? And you know that you're not feeling well. Learn the art of saying no. I learned it from, wait a minute, wrong hand. I learned it from her. I learned how to say no from Lora, because I have a giver's heart, and most nannies do. And I'm like, well, will you do this? Yes. Will you do that? Yes. Will you do this? Yes. Will you do that? Yes. And it would interfere. I'm gonna be home late because they need me to stay. I'm not gonna be able to make the party because I gotta work. I'm not gonna be able to come on till the luncheon because I gotta work. My life revolved around my work instead of me taking time to refresh and regroup and re-pour into me. I was pouring into the families that I work for, and the more I poured, the less I had, until I got hurt at work. And then I had no other choice but to take off from work. You don't want to get to that point. Self-care is not selfish. Take care of you, because if you don't take care of you, there's not going to be enough of you left to take care of anyone else.
Right. Yeah. The biggest hurdle is that people believe that their worth is based on what they do as opposed to just who they are. You know what I mean? It's around what I do for everybody else. That's where my worth comes from. And you will find that coming up in your thinking over and over again. But your worth is not based on what you do. Your worth is based on you as a person. You have intrinsic value that is there regardless of what. You could say no to every single person that ever asked you anything, and you would still have the same worth. It does not diminish your worth when you say no. Your worth is not about what you do for other people. You are worthy just because you're you, just because you're here. You have intrinsic value. And that's the biggest struggle and that's the reason we do so much, right? Because we're trying to prove it. It's like we have to keep earning our worth by doing more and more and more. That isn't the way it works. That is a false sense of worth. Your worth is, I don't have to do anything and I'm worthy. So.
Right. You are worthy and you are worth it. You are worth taking care of you. It's not selfish. It's not, well, what they're going to think about me. Don't worry about what they think about you. They're not in your shoes. They're not making your money. They're not in your pocket. They're not, you have to walk in your shoes. You know how you feel inside. And take some time. And one of the first places I'm going to do is get my nails done. Because that's part of taking care of me. Right. I wear scrubs most of the time. And me going to spend my little money on getting my nails done because that's my way of dressing up. And people like, oh, I like your nails. And I like to be very
you're always showing us what your nails are.
I love getting my nails done. That's just a part of my self-care. And that's what makes me happy. And I'm like, oh, they look so cute. I am just like a child when it comes to getting my nails done. So whatever it is that makes you giddy, it makes you happy, it makes you just go, ooh, do that for yourself.
Yep. I absolutely
agree. So, and that will expand your worth and it makes you feel better about yourself because you are taking care of you.
Yep.
Now,
so many more things that we can explore, Angela.
Yes, we'll have to come back and do another one.
I know, because I'm just like, there's so much to talk about with this. Okay.
Yes. So we'll just have to schedule another one for later on this summer after everybody's gone back to work and we have to come and do a checkup. So, do you know your worth yet? But thank you, Lora, for coming and just sharing with us. And like I said, take Lora's classes. She has a wealth of knowledge. I learn from her every time we talk. Every time she sends me text messages, oh, I didn't know that. Okay, let's do this. So yes, you all learn from her. And also, I'm here. If you
take that portfolio class, because now I'm really curious. I might have to take it to find out what the mini portfolio is.
The mini portfolio, the portfolio and the mini portfolio. I'm not talking about the digital kind. I'm talking about the face-to-face interview kind. Because the digital kind, honestly, yes, they will read it, but it's not memorable. They can't find it in there. I'm serious.
So it's not each other.
when you are in face to face and you are there, you're talking to them and you are explaining the picture for picture. They can look at a picture and say, "Oh, that's nice," but if you're explaining what's going on in that picture and how it turned out, and they're like, "Oh, okay, I see that now."
Right.
That's why picture books are so important. Get yourself a picture book. As my husband calls it, a brag book. But thank you, Lora, for coming. Join me on Wednesday night. The ladies from the Hive Nanny Agency are going to be here to talk with us. And our topic is getting back out there. So now you know your worth. Now we're going to talk about getting back out there. So these go hand in hand. And then join me Thursday night. We're going to have Sherry Tass, who's going to be talking to us about the Fairy God Nanny fundraising.
That online.
Yes, she's raising funds and she's giving out funds already to nannies who are in need because of the COVID virus and people being unemployed. She's been raising money and giving out money to families who need, to help a light bill, the car note, whatever the case may be. So please join me Wednesday night and Thursday night, 7 p.m. Central Daylight Time. So, and go by and like Lora's. I keep forgetting it's a mirror image. Go by and like Lora's
Nanny Care Hub.
Nanny Care Hub, and join the group Nanny Care Tribe. There's some awesome people in there. and some awesome and Laura doesn't put up with any junk. So don't even think about coming in there and starting some stuff
on Facebook around nannies.
Yes, she does not put up with any stuff, so you will get deleted. So don't come in there trying to start nothing. You may be helpful and use constructive criticism if it's said in a nice way, but don't come start nothing. Don't be
very open as long as it's respectful.
That's right. As long as you are respectful and you're not bashing another nanny, you're okay. And you know how to do that. You know how to talk to kids without bashing them. You talk to nannies the same way without bashing them. And none of that, you should have known better. That ain't gonna fly. I'm telling you now. I'm just giving you fair warning. There are some awesome nannies in the group, so come and join the group. I promise you, you'll love it, love it, love it. Now, we will see you all on Wednesday. Thank you again, Laura, and I hope you feel better.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. This has been fun.
Welcome. Yes, and we will see you all on Wednesday.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.